You had 9 months, Derek. 9 months to get ready. And the only thing you prepared was your exit. My husband swore he'd help raise the triplets once they were born, but that promise meant nothing. Before I start, I just want to say, my name is Nora, I'm 31 years old, and I'm the mother of triplets. This is not a story about hating someone. It's about what happens when the person who promised to stand beside you quietly steps back and hopes you won't notice. If you've ever carried more than your share and wondered why no one reached out a hand, this one's for you. So settle in and let me tell you what happened. The day I found out I was carrying triplets, I almost passed out in the doctor's office. Not from fear, not from shock, from the way Derek squeezed my hand and said, "We're going to crush this, Nora. Whatever you need, I'm right here." And I believed him. God, I believed him with everything I had. We'd been married for 4 years at that point. Solid years. Not perfect, no marriages, but we were the kind of couple that other people called goals. We split the bills, we cooked together on Sundays. When I got promoted to operations manager at the logistics firm, he threw me a surprise dinner and invited all my friends. He was good at that, making you feel like you were the center of his world. So when the doctor pulled up the ultrasound and pointed to 3 heartbeats flickering on that screen, and Derek turned to me with tears in his eyes, I thought, okay, this is going to be hard, but I'm not doing it alone. The pregnancy was brutal. I won't sugarcoat it. By month 5, I could barely walk to the kitchen without getting winded. My ankles swelled to the size of grapefruits. I was throwing up at random hours. My back felt like it was being squeezed in a vice, and sleep became this mythical thing other people talked about. My doctor, a no-nonsense woman named Dr. Kessler, sat me down at my 20-week checkup and leveled with me. Nora, triplet pregnancies are high risk. You need support. Real support. Not just someone who shows up to appointments. My husband's very involved, I told her. She nodded, but the way she wrote something down on her clipboard told me she'd heard that line before. I was put on partial bed rest by month 6 and full bed rest by month 7. Derek was attentive during the pregnancy, I'll give him that. He brought me meals, drove me to every appointment, rubbed my feet without being asked, and painted the nursery himself. 3 little cribs lined up like piano keys against a soft green wall. "I've got a system," he told me one night, showing me a color-coded spreadsheet on his laptop. Feeding schedules, diaper rotations, sleep shifts. I laughed and kissed his forehead. "You're insane." "I'm prepared," he said. "There's a difference." But preparation and follow-through are 2 very different animals. The triplets came at 34 weeks, an emergency C-section at 2 in the morning. 2 boys and a girl, Miles, Oliver, and Sadie. They were small, fragile, and loud in the most beautiful way. For the first 2 weeks, Derek was incredible. He was up at every feeding. He changed diapers without being asked. He held Sadie against his chest while I nursed the boys, and he'd whisper little songs to her that he made up on the spot. I remember thinking, we're actually doing this. Then week 3 happened. "I need to go back to the office," he said one morning while I was trying to get all 3 babies fed before noon. "Craig's been covering for me, but there's a project that needs my eyes on it." "Okay," I said. "How long?" "Just a few days. Then I'll be back on dad duty full time." A few days turned into a week, then 2. Then Derek started leaving before I woke up and coming home after the babies were already down for the night. I'd text him, "Can you pick up formula on the way home?" And he'd reply hours later, "Sorry, got slammed. Tomorrow." Tomorrow. That became his favorite word. Here's what no one tells you about being overwhelmed. it doesn't hit you all at once. It seeps in, like water through a crack in the ceiling. One day you're managing. The next day you realize you haven't showered in 4 days and you've been wearing the same shirt since Monday, and you can't remember the last time someone asked how you were doing. And the worst part is, you start to believe that this is just what it's supposed to feel like. That exhaustion is the price of motherhood, and asking for help means you're failing. But that's a lie. Exhaustion is not a badge of honor. It's a warning sign, and I wish I'd listened to it sooner. By month 2, I was running on fumes. My mother, Estelle, drove in to help. She took one look at me, and her face crumbled. "Nora, when was the last time you slept more than 2 hours?" "I don't remember." She set her bag down and rolled up her sleeves. "Where's Derek? Work." She didn't say anything else. She didn't have to. The look on her face said everything. My best friend Tamara came by that same week. She brought diapers, frozen meals, and a fury I hadn't expected. "He's never here?" she said, bouncing Oliver on her knee while I fed Sadie. "He's working, Tam. It's a big project." It's always a big project with men like that. "He's not like that." She gave me a look, one of those long, quiet looks that says, "I love you too much to argue, but I also think you're lying to yourself." "When's the last time he gave one of these babies a bath?" I opened my mouth, closed it. I couldn't remember. That night, I waited up for Derek. He walked in at 11:15, loosening his tie, scrolling through his phone. "Hey," he said without looking up. "We need to talk," he sighed. Actually sighed, like I was an item on his to-do list. "Can it wait? I'm wiped." "No, it can't wait. I've been alone with 3 newborns for 6 weeks straight, Derek. 6 weeks. You promised me you'd be here." He sat down across from me and rubbed his eyes. "I am here, Nora. I'm working for this family. Do you think the mortgage pays itself?" "I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about presence. Your children don't know your face." "That's dramatic." "Is it? Miles cried when you picked him up last week. He cried because he didn't recognize you." That one landed. I saw it hit him. Just a flicker behind his eyes, there and gone. But instead of letting it in, he hardened. "I'm doing the best I can." "No, you're doing the minimum, and even that you're failing at." He stood up. "I'm going to bed." And that was it. That was the whole conversation. There's a moment in every crumbling relationship where you stop arguing to fix things and start arguing just to be heard. You're not looking for a solution anymore. You're looking for proof that the other person still cares enough to fight. And when they walk away mid-sentence, when they choose sleep over your pain, that silence tells you more than any words ever could. I wasn't asking Derek to be perfect. I was asking him to be present. And he couldn't even give me that. Things got worse before they got better. Actually, things got worse before I got stronger. There's a difference. By month 4, I developed a system of my own. Not Derek's neat little spreadsheet, a survival system. I bathed the babies in pairs. I staggered feedings 20 minutes apart so I could catch my breath between each one. I wore Oliver in a wrap while I cooked so he'd stop screaming, and I learned that Sadie slept better with white noise, and Miles needed to be swaddled tight like a burrito or he'd startle himself awake every 9 minutes. I became 3 parents in one body. Derek, meanwhile, had become a ghost who paid the electric bill. One Saturday morning, one of the rare mornings he was home, I asked him to watch the kids while I went to the pharmacy. "Sure," he said, not looking up from his laptop. I was gone 40 minutes. When I came back, all 3 babies were in their cribs screaming, and Derek was on the back porch on a phone call, pacing with a coffee cup in his hand. I didn't yell. I was past yelling. I picked up Miles first, then Oliver, then Sadie. I changed them, fed them, soothed them. And when Derek came back inside, I looked at him and said, very calmly, "Don't ever tell me you're helping again. Because whatever this is, it's not help." He blinked at me like I was speaking another language. I was on a call, Nora. It was important. More important than your children screaming in the next room? It was 5 minutes. They were soaked, Derek, all 3 of them. Sadie had spit up all over herself. Miles was red in the face from crying so hard. That's not 5 minutes. That's neglect. Don't throw that word at me. Then give me a better one. Because from where I'm standing, from where I've been standing every single day for 4 months, that's exactly what it looks like. He set his coffee down hard enough to slosh it over the rim. You act like I do nothing. Name one thing you did this week. One thing. For them. Silence. Long, ringing silence. That's what I thought. And then his phone rang. He glanced at the screen, and I saw it. The hesitation. The way his eyes darted between me and the phone. He picked up the phone. I walked out of the room. That was the night I called Tamara and said 4 words I never thought I'd say out loud. I think I'm done. Saying you're done isn't giving up. Sometimes it's the first honest thing you've said in months. We're taught to endure, to push through, to fight for our marriages like they're burning buildings and we're the only firefighters on the scene. But no one asks the firefighter if the building is worth saving. No one asks if maybe, just maybe, the fire was set on purpose. And standing in the ashes, pretending you're not burned, doesn't make you brave. It makes you a liar. I was done lying. I didn't leave right away. That's not how real life works. There were logistics. 3 babies, a lease, tangled finances. I started quietly. I updated my resume. I called my old boss, Patricia, who had been asking me to come back part-time since my maternity leave started. I can offer you remote work, Patricia said. 20 hours a week. You can scale up when you're ready. I'll take it. My mother extended her stay. Tamara started coming over on Tuesdays and Thursdays after her own shift ended. I built a net around me, not made of one person's empty promises, but of real hands doing real work. Derek didn't notice any of it. He didn't notice my laptop open on the kitchen table. He didn't notice the folder of apartment listings I'd started collecting. He didn't even notice that I'd stopped texting him during the day. That's how invisible I'd become in my own marriage. I could plan my entire exit, and the man I lived with couldn't see it happening 3 feet in front of him. The moment that sealed it, the real moment, came on a Thursday evening. I was bathing the triplets, all 3 of them splashing in the baby tub I'd set up in the kitchen because the bathroom was too small. Sadie was giggling. Oliver was trying to eat the washcloth. Miles was staring at the ceiling like a tiny philosopher. And I was exhausted, but laughing. Actually laughing for the first time in weeks. Derek walked in. He leaned against the doorframe and watched us for a second. "Looks like you've got it handled," he said. And he walked past us to the fridge, grabbed a drink, and went to the living room. That sentence, "looks like you've got it handled," played on a loop in my head for the rest of the night. Because he wasn't saying it with admiration. He was saying it with relief. Relief that he didn't have to be involved. Relief that I'd stopped asking. Relief that my competence had become his permission to disappear. I told Derek on a Sunday. The babies were napping. The house was quiet for the first time in what felt like forever. "I'm moving out," I said. He laughed. Not a real laugh. That nervous, dismissive sound people make when they think you're bluffing. Very funny. "I'm not joking. My mother found a 2-bedroom 15 minutes from here. I've already signed the lease." His face changed. Slowly, like a screen loading. "Wait, what? When did you signed a lease?" "Last week." "Without telling me? You haven't asked me a single question about my life in 3 months, Derek. I could have signed a lease, learned French, and gotten a tattoo, and you wouldn't have noticed." He stood up. "This is insane. You can't just take my kids. Our kids. And I'm not taking them from you. I'm giving them a parent who's actually present. You're welcome to be that parent too. You always were." "So what, this is punishment?" "No, this is a consequence. You made a promise and you broke it every single day. Not once, not twice. Every single day for 5 months. I was working, you were hiding. There's a difference." He stared at me, and for the first time in months, I saw something real cross his face. Not anger, not defensiveness. Fear. "Nora, I can change. You had 9 months, Derek. 9 months to get ready. And the only thing you prepared was your exit." He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. I picked up my keys. The movers come Wednesday. That was it. No screaming, no slamming doors. Just a quiet, clear ending to a chapter that should have closed a long time ago. Wednesday came. The movers were 2 guys in a white van who worked quickly and asked no questions. My mother held the triplets in the living room while I supervised the boxes. Derek wasn't home. He'd texted that morning, "I think we should talk before you do this." And I'd replied, "The time for talking was 5 months ago." He didn't text back. The first month on my own was chaos. Beautiful, terrifying chaos. 3 babies in a smaller space. No second income yet, just Patricia's part-time checks and my savings. My mother sleeping on the pull-out couch. Tamara showing up with coffee and diapers like clockwork. But something shifted. Something I hadn't felt in so long I'd forgotten its name. Peace. Not quiet. 3 7-month-olds made sure of that. But peace. The kind that comes from knowing that every hand in your house is actually helping. That no one's pretending. That the work is shared and the love is real. Miles started sleeping through the night first. Then Sadie. Oliver held out until month 9, the stubborn little champion. And every milestone they hit, every giggle, every new tooth, every wobbly almost crawl, I was there for it. Not waiting for someone who'd never show up. Just there. Derek called a few times. Awkward, halting conversations. He asked to see the kids. I said yes, every time. He'd come over, sit on the floor, and try. Clumsily, unpracticed, but trying. The first visit, he held Sadie like she was made of glass. She grabbed his finger, and he looked up at me with this expression, half wonder, half guilt. "She's so big," he whispered. "They grow fast when you're not watching." He flinched. I didn't mean it as a weapon, but the truth has sharp edges sometimes. By the 3rd visit, Oliver let Derek hold him without crying. Miles took longer. He'd bury his face in my shoulder whenever Derek reached for him. And each time, I saw Derek absorb that rejection like a punch he knew he deserved. "He'll come around," I said once. "I know," Derek said, but his voice cracked on it. I didn't take him back. That's not where this story goes. But I watched him learn, slowly, what I'd known from the minute those 3 tiny humans took their first breath, that showing up isn't a one-time decision. It's a daily one. And the people who matter most will always remember whether you made it or not. Strength isn't about doing it all alone. It's about knowing when to stop waiting for someone who was never coming. It's about building a life that doesn't depend on one person's broken promise. I used to think leaving meant failure. Now I know it meant choosing myself for the first time in years. And my children, Miles, Oliver, and Sadie, they didn't lose a family when I walked out that door. They gained a mother who finally believed she deserved better. And she did. She really did. If this story resonated with you, if it made you feel seen or reminded you that your strength matters, drop a comment below and share your story. I read every single one. And if you haven't already, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Your support means the world. Until next time, take care of yourselves. You deserve it.